Good morning, my name is Ty Crockett, and I'm a professional Scrum trainer. I spend about 50% of my time doing training and about 50% consulting. And today I want to talk about sprint reviews. I believe that sprint reviews are probably one of the most underutilized parts of the Scrum framework. The reason I want to talk about it is because as I'm going out in the community, I'm seeing teams underuse and maybe even underappreciate the value of this particular event. So I'll talk about the mechanics of it are, and then we'll talk about like getting into some of the value and getting the most out of the event itself. So mechanics, it happens towards the end of the sprint. It's up to a 4-hour meeting. The people who come are the Scrum team itself and the entire Scrum team. You'll have your stakeholders there. The product owner is the person who will invite the stakeholders. They're going to show a done increment to the stakeholders and get feedback on what it is and how the product backlog should change to support getting the most value out of the future of the product. So if I were to build maybe an agenda for a sprint review, maybe it looks something like this. So I think it's important to show the vision for the product, like the big picture vision. We get into doing sprints and we forget about the strategic value of our product. We start to get involved in the tactical piece. So let's talk about the vision first, and maybe then the sprint goal itself, which is a vision for the previous sprint. What are we going to do to bring some value to the product with just this small increment of time? That would be really cool, but you don't have to. But those pieces will be really cool. And then maybe after that, getting into something like discussing the sprint itself. Now this part is going to be right out of the Scrum Guide. It feels like a retrospective thing, but it's not. It's something that we might need our stakeholders to know about, because the people who are there in the review itself, it's the right people. The people who are asking for the things to be built, the people who are actually building the things, and the people who are representing the larger picture, the product owner, have the ability to take some type of organizational action inside the sprint. So what things went well, what problems we ran into, like how do we solve those problems? It feels like a retrospective, but no, this is the one for that larger group to go and solve those problems. And then after that, maybe this is a time where we start to demonstrate the increment itself. And people, we talk all the time, this is not a demo, correct. It is a critical review of the product itself, but a demonstration of the product or the increment is really important. And when we say increment, we're not just talking about the stuff that we did now, we're talking about a done increment, which is what we did now and everything that previously existed, but the features that we may be showing are things that we might have done inside this sprint. So when we actually are showing this piece, we're showing that to the stakeholders, and we want to make sure that they understand this is what was built, and then get their feedback on it. And the reason it is a critical review is kind of like when you do an Amazon review. It's different than when you get a demonstration of like a new vacuum cleaner or something. I personally remember when I first bought my house, there was a guy who would come door to door. They would do Curry vacuum sales, and when the vacuum cleaner kind of fell apart in the salesman's hands, not that it was a bad vacuum cleaner, just that he was putting it together improperly, I got down on the floor with him and helped him to actually put the vacuum cleaner together, because it was a demonstration. I was excited about the demonstration. I wanted it to like go cool because I thought I was going to get this cool whiz-bang see something out of it. Whereas when I'm doing a review of something, like the Amazon review thing, I'm going, okay, so how did this hit me? What was important? How did I feel about that? And so that is a different feel to what this might be. And just like it's not a demo, like a car has tires, but it's a car, not a tire. A sprint review has a demonstration in it, but it is not a demo. It's a sprint review because it has a lot more pieces. And then finally, so after that, then the product owner says, hey, here's the current state of the product backlog. You've seen it, because all the time we go, after something's done, we say, well, now that I've seen it, I'd like these changes to it. So now the product owner says, okay, you've seen it. Here's a current state of the product backlog. Should we change something? That's probably the next question. The product owner might project out some likely completion dates. These are not commitments. These are not definites. We live in an uncertain world with a lot of unknowns. And so therefore, we can just do our best to project out what we believe is true today. And so the product owner might project some likely completion dates for us to make better planning with. The next is maybe the entire group collaborates on what we should do next. So we've had these questions answered. And then maybe we start talking about what the marketplace looks like. And the marketplace is a really complex and rich term, right? So you have stuff that's happening locally inside your organization, holidays, special events, things that might change the landscape tactically where you're working inside your organization. And then what about organizational periodicals that you're subscribed to, new laws that are coming into play that might affect your industry? What are your competitors doing? Are you subscribed to your competitors' news feeds so you know what they're doing? These are probably things that you should be discussing inside your sprint review related to what the marketplace is. And so finally, coming around to, and then after you have that discussion, should you change your product backlog? This is going to be kind of a theme of the review itself. So after you've talked about that, like what's the most important thing we could possibly be working on? And then finally, for people who've been doing traditional project management and been looking at, well, okay, what about time, budget, and scope? Well, those things don't completely go away, but we look at them in a very different light. So how much money have we spent on the product? How much are we looking at spending? These are really great business decisions because this is a business decisioning meeting. It's a working session towards that. If we were looking at the next release or delivery of critical mass of business value to the market, like what would that entail? And then how much does that cost, or how much is it projected to cost? So we should be looking at these type of things in this way, and then we might get a higher value out of the sprint review itself. And so finally, after you've done that, question comes up again. Should we change the product backlog? Because that's going to lead us to the future. And so if you've done all this stuff and you've gotten all this rich context and value out of the product, your development team knows where you're headed. They've had an opinion to sit there and say, well, these things are possible, these things are not possible, these things might be very difficult, these things might be very easy. Your stakeholders have an idea of what things have been done, what things have changed. This gets us to what a sprint review really should be. And if you've done that, then you probably had a pretty good sprint review, and your stakeholders will appreciate it, and your organization will do well. I'm Ty Crockett. These are Scrum Tapas. If you want to know more about these events, go to Scrum.org. If you want to know more about how we might approach this, go to improving.com and check out our stuff in Agile and training. Thank you.